You could buy somewhere between a 1 to 2 acre lot in Utah with that amount of capital, and you could yield $100,000 a year on neighbor. And so you'll see these
Wow.
individuals where they start using it and then they're like, wait a second, I should just be deploying capital over here into neighbor specific properties.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we have Joseph Woodbury. Joseph is the co-founder and CEO of Neighbor. With his expertise in real estate, his platform helps property owners achieve full property monetization, earning more money from underutilized spaces. Under his leadership, Neighbor has expanded to all 50 states, offering more storage and parking options than any other company in the industry. Joseph is successfully disrupting the $500 billion self-storage industry, having raised over $65 million from top investors, including Andreessen Horowitz, Airbnb, Uber, StockX, and DoorDash. And today we're going to dive into how Joseph has done this. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For those that are watching, you may be looking and saying, "Chris, you look like you have a new studio." And this is not a new studio. This is a friend's studio. As I was sharing with Joseph here beforehand, a lot of people know I live in Asheville, and we were just a mile from downtown when the storm hit. Fortunately, my wife and I were out of town. My in-laws made it safely through the storm, and we relocated temporarily to Charlotte. So I'm recording here from a friend's studio in Charlotte. And I just want to take a quick moment. We started a nonprofit to aid directly those people impacted by Helene in Western Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. It's called the Western Carolina Emergency Network. You can find us online at westerncarolinaemergencynetwork.org. I'll put that in the show notes, but it's westerncarolinaemergencynetwork.org. And these funds, there's no overhead at this point. These funds go directly to those that are helping those in the community that have been impacted. We've been fueling our frontline workers, our Special Forces Charitable Trust members that are out there running recon and search and rescue missions. We're supplying both potable and non-potable water to the communities. For us in the real estate business, Joseph, it's kind of wild. You forget, it's like, you're home for a week, you got bottled water, but you can't flush your toilet. So a lot of these things that pop up. But I'll tell you that everybody on our team is safe so far. Our properties have made it through relatively unscathed. So we count ourselves lucky. But if you have a moment, if you have the resources, check out westerncarolinaemergencynetwork.org to learn more about us, and you can donate there as well. But on to some fun stuff, Joseph. Let's talk about how you are changing the landscape of real estate in a lot of ways. And I'd really love for you to share a little bit about your background and how you started your business, Neighbor.
Yeah, so Neighbor, in its simplest form, we're a peer-to-peer storage marketplace. So we let people monetize property they have for parking or vehicle storage or self-storage. We got started just by having the need. Very similar origin story to other companies like Airbnb. If you've heard those before, my co-founder, he needed a storage unit because he was going to be leaving the country for 4 months or so, and looked into getting one. He couldn't find one with any availability. They were all super expensive. And so he found a friend that let him store in his garage, similar to what I imagine is happening all over the country already. I can't imagine individuals trying to get away from events like you're seeing down there in the southeast right now. You just got to find a friend. You got to find a solution, and that's
Yeah.
how he was. He was like five
Yeah.
days away from leaving, and then fast forward 4 months later, he went to pick his items up, and he just thought this was such a better experience. I felt so much more peace of mind
Yeah.
knowing my items were in a nice, clean garage, and I saved a ton of money. Why doesn't everyone do this? There's got to be empty space in every neighborhood in the country. Why isn't there a way to look it up?
Yeah. No, I love it. And like I had this first idea, and actually I forget what company came actually brought it to fruition. But like reselling your old college textbooks. It's like you pay $200 for this college textbook. What a
Yeah,
racket.
right.
And then obviously Airbnb, everybody listening, if you're not familiar with Airbnb, then stop what you're doing and go look that story up. But my wife and I have a couple of those. I think as the country becomes more dense, we have a housing crisis, and the influx of new immigrants is certainly going to continue to propel that into the future, in my opinion. As you just mentioned, the event that we were just talking about, if you have people displaced, especially in the Southeast, we're going to have a need for that. And a lot of people, like we have a Sprinter van, as we were talking about before, they're going to take skiing this winter. Well, if we're not using it, why not rent it out, make a little bit more revenue, and help make it financially feasible? So I think it solves two problems, Joseph. It solves the need, but it also gives you, if you have the capacity with whether it's your building or whatever it may be that you have, to earn some additional income, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's monetizing passive space,
Yeah.
and so many actions, even marketplaces, take work. You look at like
Right.
Uber or DoorDash or Instacart, you have to drive around to make any money. But
Right.
there are some categories like Airbnb, like Neighbor, even like Turo, if you've heard of that, where you can
Oh
rent out
yeah.
your car,
I've done that
where
too. Both
you just
both
don't
sides
do
of it. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So we love those
Yeah.
passive opportunities.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and it's doing something. You can either walk into it. I know people that have started Turo businesses where they've bought a car with the intent to put it on Turo as a business. I know
Hmm.
people like myself. We were gone for a month on a road trip this summer, and my friend has a Turo business, and he manages it as well. So I gave him my car for a month, and he ended up actually ended up being about 2 months. So we made a couple, $2,000, $3,000 during that period of time. And
Yeah.
then my friend, he is jumping in the middle, and the Turo platform has allowed him to start a business and actually employ somebody that manages that. And you know, um, those of you that are listening with the family, one of the challenges is, you go to the airport, you're like, hey, I want to get this SUV or this minivan. They're like, sorry, Mr. Woodbury, we're out of those. And you're like, out of those? Like, how am I going to transport my family of five? You know?
Right.
So Turo kind of eliminates those. It's a pretty cool solution. So how does Neighbor fit into all that? You mentioned storage. Let's talk about kind of how it works in process.
Yeah, so you take about 10 minutes, give us all the features of your home. We help
Yeah.
list your space. And once that's listed, we bring you a renter. And that renter, if you listed your RV pad or your garage, we
Yeah.
could be storing a car or a camper trailer or a boat on the side of your home. If
Okay.
you listed a shed or an interior space, we could be storing boxes in that space, items, furniture that someone
Hmm.
needs to store. And we're nationwide now, so we have people renting out space in every city in the country at this point.
Wow, that's impressive. And when did you start officially?
It's 2017, so it's been about
Yeah.
7 years now.
Okay. Yeah. So I love the concept, and as an engineer, my brain starts to think, okay, so you have this concept. You're effectively a digital matchmaker at this
Yeah.
point, right, Joseph? And so what were some of the initial challenges you had in getting this platform up and running?
Well, you hit it on the head. Whenever you're starting a marketplace, you don't have enough renters to make it worthwhile for people to list their property, and you
Right.
don't have enough property to make it worthwhile for renters to find what they're looking for. And so you have to convince people to use the product and service until there's a critical mass on the
Yeah.
supply side and critical mass on the demand side. The beauty of that is once it gets going, then it really is this virtuous cycle where the more supply you
Yeah.
get, the better experience it is for the renter because they're finding
Yeah.
cheaper, closer, better quality. And then the more demand there is, the better experience it is for the supply because they list their space, they get reserved like that. They're always reserved, they're making lots of money. And so it's been awesome to see it grow
Yeah.
from Salt Lake City, from where we're headquartered, to we have, our largest markets are Florida, New York,
Sure.
California.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm thinking now again, I'm starting to think about this. So I give you the dimensions of my space, my garage, my driveway. I should have gone on the neighbor platform and tried to do this, but it was challenging because I haven't been at home for a little while. I should let's see if I can do it with the Airbnb we've got. I'll rent out the garage wire with the Airbnb.
Right.
So a couple of questions. One, do you use AI? How do you analyze the space and do that? Because we're not talking about like the self-storage facilities we own. Oh, it's a 10 by 10, right? 10 by 20. We know the dimensions. It's very easy. I don't need to take pictures of anything. I don't need to go measure it because that's how they're manufactured. I don't even need to walk the spaces as long as I know they're clean. How do you solve for that piece of the problem?
Yeah. So we use, I call it two types of intelligence. When we're looking at pricing, we have all this great pricing data all over the country. And yeah,
Okay.
we're using machine learning, AI type models where we're looking at all the spaces that get listed and how fast do they get rented when they're listed and what's the right price in downtown Baltimore versus in, rural West Virginia.
Yeah.
But as far as reviewing the actual spaces, every single space that's listed on our platform is reviewed by a human before it's pushed live. So
Gotcha.
we'll
Yep.
call that RI, real intelligence.
There you go. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, at some point we're gonna have to develop new sayings, enhanced, artificial, what's it gonna be? Yeah, that's great because you can a human can come in and override it. And yeah, it is interesting. I was having this discussion with a mastermind group that my wife and I are a part of a couple of weeks ago. And it really is amazing what the human brain can do when it comes to, yeah, AI can do things very well, but like at the airport, if you got, a bottle of baby shampoo that's what, 4 ounces instead of 3 ounces or whatever the difference is, do you let it through? AI machine robot's going to say no, can't do that. But human can discern and decide on those things and figure out what makes the most sense. Now you said storage, and my mind just went to storage space, like you said, storing furniture, boxes, that sort of stuff. Um, but you also said cars, RVs, parking pad. Okay, so when you say storage, Joseph, kind of define that because I've heard a few different things here.
Yeah, we're in the business of storing anything. So
Yeah,
if you need to
anything.
store a vehicle, we've got space for you. If you
Yep.
need to store items, we've got space for you. In fact, vehicle storage, I'd say, is one of the most popular products on our platform, and it
Yeah.
ranges the gamut from people that are renting out space at their residential property all the way up to we have small businesses like gyms, nail salons that rent out parking around and it helps pay
Hmm.
their lease.
Oh
And then
yeah.
we
Yep.
have multi-billion-dollar REITs that own properties in 100 cities, retail REITs, office REITs, multifamily REITs that will
Hmm.
rent out space across their portfolio and earn seven figures in ancillary income on an annual basis through the platform.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, you have the ability to incorporate both commercial as well as residential properties
That's
on
right.
that. It's funny you mentioned cars. I'm in this studio, and my friend's office is part of this um, facility, and they've got car storage, like classic and
Yeah.
sports car storage in the back. It's pretty wild. So, and I imagine that depending on what type of car it is, that's probably quite a recession-proof industry as well.
Are you a high income business owner or professional earning two, 300,000 or even more a year, but still feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck? Are you comfortable working until you're 65 or 70 to retire? Or do you want to achieve financial independence and live life on your own terms? You could join myself and Matt Four and learn how we both became financially independent in our early 30s. We will teach you how to make, keep, and grow your money, teaching you strategies to maximize your earnings, keep your income that you've earned through tax strategy and legal structures, and ultimately teach you how to grow it by determining your personal investing strategy, as well as teach you how to analyze investments so you can grow your passive income to the point to live life on your own terms. Our coaching clients reliably do this in 7 years or less. To learn more, check out our coaching program at nextlevelincome.com/coaching. That's nextlevelincome.com/coaching.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
we see a lot of classic car storage happen on the platform.
yeah,
Proximity being a big value there. You'll have an
yeah,
individual that may live in a nice part of town. They buy another car, they don't have room for it, but their neighbor 3 doors down has a 6 car garage,
right.
and being able to use neighbor.com to store their classic car with their neighbor 3 doors down is a huge value prop, as opposed to
Yeah,
having to go across town to some car garage. And so
right.
we love the proximity. That's why we're called neighbor.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Um, so we've kind of talked about the solution. I was talking about Airbnb, and my friend that has I'm sorry, Turo, my friend that has this Turo business. How can investors, and I'm thinking, maybe investors that are looking to have their first passive investment,
Yeah.
how can an investor that's looking to get started utilize the Neighbor platform to generate passive income for themselves? What are some tricks that or best practices that you've seen specifically?
Mm. Yeah. The couple ways I've seen individuals look at it. I'll use it as example, maybe someone that owns 2 or 3 or maybe 5 rental properties.
Okay.
Um, on a rental property, maybe you pay $2,000 on the mortgage on a monthly basis, and
Hmm.
you're able
Hmm.
to rent that out for $2,300. So on a net basis, you're earning about $300 net cash flow each month.
Hmm.
Well, that owner of that rental property, they'll discover neighbor, and they'll list some of that excess space that the tenant is not using. Maybe it's a shed, maybe it's an RV pad. Um, and now all of a sudden they're earning another $200 or $300 a month on that property. They've just doubled their net cash flow on that
Big
property. They
difference
went
because
from
it's pure, yeah, it's pure profit on top of that, right? Yeah.
It's pure profit.
Yeah.
And then they start to roll that out across, 2, 3, 5, 10 rental properties, and it makes a big difference across that. The other thing I've seen is after discovering the power of that income, some small owners will actually invest in neighbor-specific properties. And I'll give you
Hmm.
some math on this.
Yeah.
If you're in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where we're based out of,
Mhm.
and you have $500,000 to spend, you could buy roughly a townhome here.
Right. Yeah.
And you can maybe make $2,000 to $2,500 in monthly rent, call it 25,000 to 30,000 a year.
Hmm.
If you were to list that townhome on Airbnb or a short-term rental platform, maybe you'd earn 30 to $40,000 a year,
Right.
little higher margin. But instead, if you were to take that 500,000 and go buy a vacant lot in Utah, you could buy somewhere between a 1 to 2 acre lot in Utah with that amount of capital. And you could yield $100,000 a year on Neighbor. And so you'll see these
Wow.
individuals where they start using it and then they're like, wait a second, I should just be deploying capital over here into neighbor specific properties,
Yeah. So for a lot like that, are they just doing parking, for instance,
just
something
doing
like that?
parking. Yeah, you throw up
Yeah.
a cheap
Yeah.
fence,
Yeah.
50 cents a square foot.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, I got a friend. He owns a lot of parking lots and um, mobile home parks, parking lots, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. You're just renting out land. It's
Less
fantastic.
management too.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm curious, Joseph, what's your background? You talked about how you kind of came up with this idea. What's your background? What's your team like that has helped you build this?
So we started this right out of school. So my background all comes from my undergraduate. I was kind of headed on the investment banking track, worked for an investment bank and then a private equity firm, and then ended up at a consulting firm called Bain and Company.
Yep.
And I had
Did you,
interned for
did you
them.
stuff the dollar bills all over your shirt
Yeah,
and
like
stuff like that?
the Mitt Romney picture.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
that's right. And I had interned with them, accepted a full-time offer, and then my senior year of school we started Neighbor. And
Yeah.
so I never ended up showing up full-time for that role. And then along the way, as we've raised rounds of capital, we've raised
Yeah.
60 or $70 million in venture capital for the company. we've hired amazing people to our
Yeah.
team. So
Yeah.
the guy that runs marketing for us, he helped transition Netflix from DVDs to streaming and stood up their first
Oh yeah.
marketing program for that. And then he was built another billion-dollar marketplace from the ground up. And the guy that runs our engineering has built several billion-dollar uh, uh, tech companies before. Is an excellent software engineer, leads a great team of software engineers. So we've been
Yeah.
able to add, we were the visionaries with the idea, but we've been able to add those subject matter experts that really crush it at their specific field of expertise.
No, that's fantastic, man. I love the story too. Getting, coming out with that vision of going and getting that, that high paying cush-ish white drop. But I mean, investment bankers, you work your butt off at first
Yeah,
to really
that's
get
right.
going. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate how challenging it is when you get started. But yeah, that's why I always, I tell my boys, they're 14 and 12, soon to be 15 and 13. If you really want to make money, you really want to have freedom, you really want to contribute, like owning or starting your own business is really, really the way to go. So I absolutely love that. Tell us a little bit about the future of Neighbor, what your plans are for growth, and where you're going to go from here.
Yeah, well, current focus for us, the first 4 or 5 years or so, we focused exclusively on the residential side. So
Yeah.
homeowners, we grew that to every city in all 50 states. And then around 2020 is when we really started leaning into this commercial side of the business. And that's the fastest growing component right now. So we're investing a lot there. Every month we're adding new REITs. Billion-dollar multifamily office retail REITs. So that's going to be a large focus for us over the next couple of years. But ultimately, we want to be the one-stop shop for all types of space. So right now, that doesn't exist, a unified platform. We want you to be able to store as small as a box of clothing and as big as business inventory in a large warehouse. We want to
Yeah.
be the place where you can
Yeah.
come to Neighbor and you can find any type of space for any reason and deploy that on the platform.
That's fantastic because now that's a totally fragmented market
Right.
or non-existent for some of those smaller needs that are out
Yeah.
there. So no, I think that's I think it's phenomenal, and we'll certainly be talking after the show about how we can plug this opportunity into some of the properties that we're out here managing. Joseph, excuse me, if people want to learn more about Neighbor, and and share the website, share more if they want to learn about Neighbor, and both if they want to get started as on either on the user side or the provider side.
Yeah. So we try to make it as easy as possible. It's just neighbor.com. And you can go to that website. You can list your space in about 10 minutes if you have a residential space. If you do have a larger portfolio, maybe you own 5, 10 properties plus, or even 100 properties plus, you can go to neighbor.com/business and we
Okay.
can help you list that there. You can see different resources for whether you're a retail or a multifamily owner or anything like that. We're also on the App Store. So you could just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, search Neighbor or RV storage or whatever you want to search, and we'll usually pop up number one. So yeah, pretty easy to find.
I love it. I love it. Now we're gonna be following your story. We're gonna be talking to you after this podcast. And Joseph, thank you so much for sharing your story with the audience. Like I said, I love it. I love to hear people like you, entrepreneurs, going out there solving a problem that, in my opinion, the country really needs today, but also giving people the opportunity to make some more money. And one question I meant to ask and I forgot: how do your users prove that it's actually their property they're trying to rent out?
Yeah. So we do ID verification of every user. So you
Yeah.
cannot create an account unless we've verified you are the person that you say you are. And then we ask for all the details of that property. And especially if you're listing, many spaces, we'll actually reach out and ask for a electrical bill or
Okay.
some sort of proof of residence.
Yeah, there we go. I like that. And no storing illegal substances either, I'm sure, right? Gotta.
Yeah, in fact, renters have to submit a full list of everything they'll be storing. The host gets to
Oh,
review.
wow. Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I
So
love it.
very
Yeah,
safe. We're also the only
yeah.
storage platform in the country that offers up to $50,000 in item protection for
Oh,
your
wow.
items while they're
Yeah,
being stored. So it's just, and then our hosts, we offer them a $1 million liability guarantee on the platform for their liability as part of using the platform. So it's just all around marketplaces are just the way to go. This is what Airbnb
yeah,
did to the hospitality industry.
yeah,
This is what we're doing to the storage industry.
yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, like I said, we're rooting for you, Joseph. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and look forward to seeing you next time I'm out in Salt Lake City.
Awesome. Likewise.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.